Hey everyone, Henk from Four-Wheeling SA. Now about 5,000 kilometers ago, I've installed the Maxxis Razr AT-811 on the Fortuner. Now in this episode, we're going to see how these tires have performed over a Namibia trip, playing with them at the Lion and Safari Park 4x4 trail, and just in general how I feel about them, what the ride is like, things like that. So let's get going. I've obviously decided on the Maxxis on the all-terrain tire. Now keep in mind that this tire is a step up from your normal, even your all-terrain tires that come on standard vehicles. They're not as hard or as heavy duty as these. They're sort of in between an all-terrain and a road tire. The tread pattern is maybe a bit more aggressive, but the tire is not as hardcore as these in terms of the strength of the reinforcing of the sidewalls of the tread and things like that. And then obviously then you need to decide if you want all-terrain in like the 811s, or if you want the Maxxis Razrs in terms of the mud terrains. And I had my mind made up in terms of for what I needed, so that's what I've already decided on the 811, the all-terrain tire. But maybe for some of you, there is still a question, should you rather go for all-terrain or a mud terrain? And I've asked Louis from Maxis just to give us some background, or some background on which one to go for. And this is what he had to say. Okay, so I quickly came by the Maxis stand here at the 4x4 show. And I've got Louis with me, and it's just to get an understanding of what's the difference between a mud terrain and an all-terrain. I've chosen all-terrain for the type of driving I do. Louis, maybe you can just explain for us what's the difference between the tires, instead of just, the one looks nice, but is it maybe the best option to put it on just for looks? So Louis, if you can just take us through the tires.
100%. Hi guys, so just to give you a better breakdown of the tires, and what you'll see is here is our all-terrain tire that's available from Maxis, which is the Razr AT-811, and then also we've got the mud terrain, which is also available. We'll chat that a bit later on. So both tires, you have a 10-ply construction, a 3-ply sidewall. Both of them are light truck construction, so you're not sacrificing anything. It comes all down to what you're going to use it for. If you need a tire that you're going to be commuting with on the weekdays, but still using a bit for 4x4ing on weekends, the Razr all-terrain would be the better suit for you, because this could do better handling on road, wet and dry weather handling. It might be a bit quieter on the road as well, but not sacrificing when you go off-road. You'll still have good off-road traction, like you've experienced in your trips that you've done in the tires as well. But if you're going for the more extreme stuff, where you've got a dedicated vehicle, then the mud terrain might be suited for you as well. Where you're looking at more of a aggressive tread pattern, you'll definitely generate a bit more road noise, but you'll gain off-road traction. And a lot of times on a pattern like this, you'll also have a bit more chip and chunk resistant compound, because this tire was designed for more off-road use than compared to the all-terrain. But it all comes down to what you want to use the vehicle for. So all of our Overlanders and 4x4 guys, we fit extras to the vehicle, and that's why we recommend a light truck tire, because all that weight that you're adding to your vehicle needs to be covered by your tire to make sure you don't get unnecessary tire failures. So that's why from our stables of Maxis, these would be our two options for you to go with, and depending on what you use the tire for, we've got the option for you.
Okay. Is there tire pressures that you recommend, or tire pressures that you say don't use this for prolonged periods?
So tire pressures is a very interesting point, because how long is this a piece of string?
Yes.
Because it all comes down to your vehicle, it all comes down to your accessories. What weight are you carrying? So yes, there is specific, so like on sand, for example, the guys would say 1.2 to 1.4 for argument's sake. But again, it depends on your vehicle, your tire size, what speeds are you going to be doing. So all of that needs to be factored in. But for sand, I would say a 1.2 to a 1.4. And if you go more rocky terrain, anything from a 1.4 to a 1.6.
Yes. And is there like a pressure that will damage the tire?
100% correct. If you run your tires too low, you can cause damage to that. So if you run your tires at 0.8 bar or 0.6 bar, and you use your tires at high speeds being highway speeds, what's a tire's best?
Yes.
It's heat. You don't want to get that heat to build up. So that's why we recommend pressures. That's why your vehicle manufacturer recommends specific tire pressure for your vehicle on road. So it's very important to keep that in mind when going off-roading as well.
Yeah, because like something like I had to do in Namibia is I had to drive at 1.5 bar for prolonged periods. because of the bad gravel road. So
100%.
is it bad for your tire, or I felt more comfortable doing it with the Maxxis than with the previous tire I had on there?
Correct. So yes, 100% correct, because but you didn't do at 1.5 bar 160 kilometers per hour.
No, it did 80.
100%. So by reducing your speed, your tire can easily handle that. And keeping in mind as well, it's a comfortable ride. You're not shaking as much. There's less friction on the vehicle, on the components of the vehicle. But you did the right thing. By lowering the pressures, you also lowered your speed. And that's what's very, very important to know.
No, thanks, very much appreciated. I think it's very insightful to learn from what you guys say. And that's the feedback from Maxis. I think that's also nice if you run into these suppliers at various 4x4 shows. This was at the 4x4 and outdoor show, just to get an understanding or help them to guide you on what you actually need on your vehicle. Because for me, and I've mentioned it many times, it's a case of functionality of the product that I use, not really the look or the sound of it. That's my benefits for me, but for me, functionality is of the utmost importance. Now, the first step for me after I've installed the tires was to take them on a trip to Namibia. So, as to call it, the overlanding trip. So that would be a mixture of tar road driving, gravel road driving, a bit of sand at Sossusvlei, and also a bit of rocks on the Namakwa 4x4 trail, or a small part of the trail that I did drive. So I'm not going to say much further. I'm rather going to show you the footage so that you can see how these tires perform in these conditions, and you can make up your own mind. So that was what the tires have seen in Namibia, and I must say I was pretty happy and impressed with the performance of the tire in these conditions. They did really well. I ran them for 1.5 bar for most of the time on the gravel roads and didn't have any problems whatsoever. Then the next step for me would be to see how do they perform on a 4x4 trail, and especially the Lion and Safari Park 4x4 trail, which I've done now a number of times. I know that it's quite sharp rocks, that it can be harsh on tires. And interesting enough, a competitor has recently launched their tire on this trail as well, and here you can see how the Maxis perform in similar conditions. So what was really nice for me at the Lion and Safari Park is that I was able to test them in different conditions. I was able to test them on rocks, obviously, and then there was a bit of mud. Look, it's not a mile long stretch of mud, but at least I could see how the tires perform in terms of cleaning the tread. And there was also a small bit of sand in which I could test the performance of the tires in the sand, on top with what I've seen already in the Namibia trip. And I was really impressed with the way that these tires perform in these conditions. One of the things that stood out for me was especially on downhills. Where in the past I would have slipped, so the car would keep on sliding forward, whereas with these the car would stop and actually hold its position. So I was in much more control on a steep decline basically, but just keeping the brakes in, the car will stop. In the past it will keep on sliding. Here I could brake and I really stop, let go the brakes and keep on rolling forward. So I was really impressed with the grip of the tire, and that's something I've expected from the Maxxis, with them, according to me, a bit of a softer compound. So after 5,000 kilometers, that is my first impressions, or my initial impressions of this tire. I'm really surprised or very satisfied on how they are handling the terrain that I need to drive with them. Maybe for you it's different, but I feel I've got a pretty much average application in the way I use the vehicle. I don't only use it for one thing. I need to do long distances on tar, I need to do gravel, I need to do 4x4 trails. So at this stage I'm very happy with the way the tire is performing. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, which type of tire do you have? Do you have the all-terrain, or do you have a mud terrain? Which work for you? Why does it work for you? And thank you so much for watching. See you on the next one.